Hey guys, Max Rich here, and today I want to talk about a way that you can make your bar chords easier to play. I know a ton of people starting out. When I was starting out, making bar chords seemed like it was impossible. You know, I started playing guitar and it was great and I loved it. I was playing all my favorite songs, you know, when I was like a teenager. And then I got to bar chords and I was like, oh, well, I guess this is where my journey ends because this is impossible. So, well, I guess I had a cool run. And then, you know, you get better at it and you try and you try and you try and it hurts and it hurts and then slowly but surely you get better. But it takes a really long time to get good at playing bar chords and make it not hurt and make it not uncomfortable. This tip will hopefully speed up that process pretty dramatically, and it's worked with pretty much every student I've ever had that I've taught this to. It worked with me when I learned it, so hopefully it'll work with you. The main thing that players do wrong when they learn how to make a bar chord is they pinch, right? You pinch between your thumb and your index finger. Like if I'm making a bar chord on the 5th fret here, right? A lot of players will take their thumb, they'll put it right behind their index finger and they'll pinch, right? And then, you know, if I'm making an A major chord, I'll put the rest of my fingers down and then I'll try to play that chord. You know, for me now, like, I'm capable of doing that because I learned how to play bar chords. But if you're watching this video, it's probably pretty difficult, and there's no shame in that because that's normal. All of us have to go through that. But this pinching thing, right? What you're doing, if you take your index finger and your thumb and you pinch together, what you'll notice is that this muscle here swells up, right? That's kind of like the little muscle that's activating. And when you get pain from holding a bar chord too long, that's probably where you're getting pain, right? Is in this muscle. And the reason you're getting pain there is because you're pinching, right? So one of the big things that you can do is get a better thumb position when you play bar chords. Your thumb sort of functions as the balancing act going on behind your hand, right? If I'm playing single melody stuff, you know, or single note stuff, I kind of want my thumb in the middle behind my hand, so that my thumb rests as this like balancing point, and then I have 2 fingers on this side and then 2 fingers on this side, and I can easily shift my weight back and forth without having to do a whole lot of extra motion, right? If my thumb's way over here, or if my thumb's way over here, it's going to be a lot harder. But that's single note stuff. If we're doing this bar chord idea, you kind of have to discard that concept for a second, right? So instead of pinching between here, if I take my thumb and I push it farther and farther and farther towards the body, right? I'll show you what I'm doing. If I hold my guitar like this, you can see it. If I am pinching here, and as I move my thumb closer and closer to the body, my whole arm begins to rotate, right? So I'm taking essentially my fingers like this, and you try this right now at home. If you move your thumb farther and farther towards what would be the body, your arm starts twisting. You can't help it because that's just how your body moves. Same thing the other way. If I twist my thumb towards the headstock, my hand begins to turn that way, right? And this is the concept you want to use. You don't want to use a lot of muscle energy to make a bar chord. You want to use leverage, because leverage is easy. You don't need a lot of leverage to play a bar chord. You do need a lot of muscle if you're using the wrong technique. So when I make a bar chord, instead of pinching between here, right, I take my thumb and I slide it this direction, and it actually rotates my hand, rotates my index finger into the strings like that. And I'm over exaggerating it, but you can see, like if I bring the farther I bring my thumb this way, the more my index finger rotates on its side and my whole forearm twists, slamming my index finger into the strings, right? Now that's leverage. Now you're not using muscle energy. The added benefit to that, a lot of players, when they do pinch, even if they can get a bar chord, it doesn't last very long, and most likely not all the strings are ringing. You might get something like this, where like some of the inside strings aren't coming out. And the reason that that's happening is because when you bar and you pinch, essentially your index finger comes flat at the fret like this, right? And when it does that, this part of your index finger is soft and fleshy, right? So what happens is like the soft flesh of the pad, inside pad of your index finger, sort of wraps around the string, and it doesn't slam the string down into the fretboard. It sort of smothers it and wraps around it, and that's how you get those dead sounds, right? Wherever your real fleshy part of your fingers are, so like here and then the middle of this digit and down here, that's going to wrap around the string and it's going to smother the string and mute it instead of like pushing it into the fret so that you get a ring, so you get like a nice sustained ringing note. So when you move your thumb this direction towards the body of the guitar, not only does it increase leverage by twisting your index into your fretboard so that you don't have to pinch, instead you're using this twisting motion to fret the bar chord, but also it rotates your index finger onto its side, right? I mean, obviously not like all the way on its side, but instead of this, you end up with that, where it's more on the side, or like, you know, kind of in between the middle and the side of it, versus pinching, which sort of smothers the finger into the strings. Now when you're on the side, right, sort of right here, that's a lot harder. You know, that's not as soft as the fleshy part of your fingers. That's a lot harder. So when you press that against the strings, that actually has enough flat, hard surface area to actually press the strings into the fretboard, and you get a nice ringing sound out of all of them. Tuner's a little buzzy here. There you go. Now if I, once again, take a look where my thumb is, right? Rotated. I can still make like a major chord, minor chord. I could even make like a C major chord shape. I could do everything from this position with my thumb here. Now if I do this, right, see that rotation? Here, my index finger's on its side being slammed into the fretboard. I move it back, and now, like, I'm flat, my index finger's flat against the strings, it's smothering, and it's going to sound really, it's going to sound crappy, let's just be honest, right? So the main thing that you can do, and this is a short, very quick tip, is instead of naturally grabbing your bar chords like this and pinching, right, get in the habit of moving your thumb this direction when you play bar chords. Now obviously you don't want to be like reaching super hard and as far as you can, but any little bit, try it at home, you'll see right now. You'll see as you move it, right, it's going to twist that index finger into the fretboard, right? And a real good exercise to practice, and you know, once again, this is going to be a new technique, so it's not going to happen instantly, but you're going to see it requires a lot less energy because you're using leverage instead of just pure muscle power. Right, but a good thing for you to do is to see how long you can sustain a bar chord, because let's say you're playing a 3.5 minute song, it's full of bar chords, you're going to need to be able to hold bar chords and move bar chords around for 3.5 minutes, right? So that's itself is going to be taxing on your muscles and your hands and everything. So it's good to practice, even with this new technique, it's good to practice you know, an exercise that will prolong the length of time you can hold a bar chord. So you go to your first fret, you make an F major bar chord. Once again, my thumb is here. And you make it nice and crystal clear, make each note ring, and then you shift the entire hand as one unit. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do that. You don't want to lift off and stagger and reposition your whole chord. You want to make sure that when you shift to the second fret, that your whole hand moves as one unit, right? Nothing separates, nothing comes apart like this. Everything is still compact, the thumb is still in the center, it's not behind the index finger, and it's definitely not going this direction. You definitely don't want that, right? And then once again, you climb up the chord, back down, and then you do it again. Work your way up the entire fretboard, and you'll notice, like in the beginning, maybe you make it 2, 3, 4, 5 frets. The idea is to get all the way up to the 12th fret and back eventually. And once you can do that, you know, obviously the tempo matters if you're going super fast. You know, you're going to cut down the length of time you have to hold that bar chord. So the idea in this exercise is to go slow and focus on tone, to make sure that you're actually giving yourself enough of a challenge that you're having to hold that bar chord for a long amount of time before moving to the next fret, and all the way up to the 12th fret. That'll end up taking a long time. and then getting back down will also take a long time. Now, the trick here is that when you do shift, and you shift as one unit, you shift your whole hand like this, that you don't stay fretted like the whole time and do that and you get a little slide. You don't want that. You want like an audible stop. You want the chord to be silent, essentially. You don't want to keep fretting as you move. The reason you do that is because when you switch chords, it's important that you don't like let go of the strings and you don't reposition, but you do release the tension, right? And when you release the tension, what you're actually doing is you're allowing fresh blood into your muscles to sort of give a little bit of fresh oxygen into your muscles. Your muscles feed off of oxygen, so they need oxygen to function. And when they're holding and under strain, they're using up their fuel source. They're using up the oxygen, so that in between a chord shift, in between every chord shift, if you can learn to relax, you can still stay on the string. You just have to release the tension and relax. You're allowing fresh oxygen to get into those muscles and to recharge those muscles so they can stay active for a little bit longer on the next chord change. It's kind of like coming up for a sip of air. If you're underwater and you need to just pop up for a quick sip of air, it'll let you stay underwater a little bit longer than if you just kept staying underwater. You know, eventually you need to come up to the surface for air. The same thing is true with your muscles. So the two big things out of this lesson is stop pinching. Number one, don't do it. Start rotating and using leverage by bringing your thumb towards the body of the guitar. Not away from it, towards the body of the guitar. That'll rotate your hand, rotate your index finger on its side, which is harder than the pad, which is soft and smothers the string. Second thing is work with this exercise, staying in this position and making sure that when you shift from one fret to the next, that you're relaxing, you're not letting your fingers break apart, you're not repositioning the entire chord from scratch, you're just releasing the tension, you're staying on the strings, sliding up the strings as one unit, and then fretting them back down using leverage, using this new thumb position here. That allows a little oxygen to get into your muscles, allows you to play longer, and if you can get up to the 12th fret and back, you should have no problems playing bar chords anymore. If you guys like this lesson, please take a look at maxrichmusic.com, where you can find my newsletter, you can find free tabs, free lessons, free exercises, free technique videos, a ton of free content, right? There's a wealth of information there that I continue to put out each week, so if you guys feel like you got something out of this, please like, share, and subscribe, and take a look at all that stuff. And if you are so inclined, please hit that donate button. It does help me create content and help me keep this stuff free so that you guys can all benefit and learn the lessons that I had to learn the hard way. So take a look at maxrichmusic.com, and I'll see you in the next one.